domains like manufacturing, supply chain, construction, workforce management, and healthcare. So mainly I have experience in from .NET, SQL, and then SSRS and Power BI, and also in Power Platform for Power Apps and Power Automate. So I'm running my YouTube channel since like almost 4 years now, and it has like 600 plus videos content inside to that, mainly focused on Power BI, Power Apps, Power Automate, and Power Platform thing. So please go and support that. Okay, so moving on for today's agenda. So today we are going to discuss about the main is the data region on the visuals, and then we'll have in between demos how we can do that and how it actually works. And I will give you the reference of that. And finally, we will have a small Q&A sessions. So basically, when you open up this Paginated Report, so in terms of for you as a background, so hope you have worked on SSRS reports, which is SQL Server Reporting Services. So the same thing which has brought up by Microsoft here, but it's not a kind of, they are just moved from SSRS to Paginated Report, but they have built up entirely the new thing because of this architecture infrastructure changes. So they are trying to build everything one by one, whatever they had in SSRS report, but still it's also available there on on-prem SSRS report. But if you want to use it online, then you can use it Paginated Report. So the main area where we are using it here for the Paginated Report is to build a kind of tabular report, whether it can be just a table information, or you can build the invoices like packing slip. If you are import and export company, then you may need to have a packing list and invoice to send it to your customers and for custom clearance document kind of thing. So those kind of documents you can prepare using Paginated Report. And inside of that, we have these three main data regions. Even though in Power BI world, we call all these things as a kind of visuals, but here data region, it mentioned as in this category, we have three things. One is table, matrix, and then list. So for this demo purpose, I'll just keep the name as visual itself, table visual, matrix visual, and list visual. So what are the three things are? So three things are mainly useful. So you need to learn about these things and how it actually works based on the data and how we need to apply the row context and column context and the filter context basically. So if you are also aware of Power BI, then you may need to also aware of um, row context and filter context. Similarly, we have this approach here, but the way how it works is slightly different from that. So tables are basically the fixed columns. You can create fixed column, fixed number of columns, what you want to add from your data set, and then you can show up the reports. And you can also apply the sorting and filters and everything. Whereas for the metrics, it's a kind of dynamic. This is similar to the Excel, what we have as a pivot table. Similarly, it's the same thing here. We call it as a metrics. In SSRS, we used to call it as, in Crystal Report, we used to call it as a crosstab. So everything has a similar approach. And the third thing is a list, which is used for the free form report for the invoicing purpose. So if you imagine an invoice which you are usually preparing, there on the left side, we have the customer information. On the right side, we'll have the invoice information. And below to that, we'll have a table structure where we'll add the product information and the quantity and price and everything. And at the bottom, we'll have this bank and terms and conditions. And on the right side, we'll have the signature. So it's a kind of invoice, right? So these things we can use the list visual and we can add the tables, we can add the text boxes and everything inside with that. So first we'll start with this table itself. In table visuals, so if you see here, we can add hierarchies and the next nested group kind of thing on the row level. So here as an example, we have a retail as a main category and wholesale as a main category. And inside to that, we have this Odin and bikes as a kind of second category, subcategory, we can say. Similarly, we have it on the matrix visual that here the growth is basically one single column, which is refers to a table. And when it comes to matrix, and if you want to add a dynamic column allocations, then you can use here, for example, I used here calendar year. So it actually add more column if we have more data inside to our data set. So this is a nested groups and we have adjusted group. So we'll talk about this adjusted group as well in the later part of this session. So that's an interesting topic actually. So, and the main thing is we can create groups in our data regions. So data is basically the visuals. So we have a row group as well as column group. So if you want to group something else as a kind of some of category, some of subcategory at the column level, or if you want to add it at a row level, then you can make use of this option. So, and also we have advanced mode options. If you click on this small arrow here, then it will open up this advanced option. There we have an option about to set up the column headings to repeat on every pages while we print our reports. Okay, so this is an example of how the table visuals looks like. And whenever you drag and drop into your canvas, then you will have these headers and the data. So on the data itself, we can able to add our data set columns. So this is an example of the output where we have this here on the top. We have the fixed number of columns, whereas it has the category name, category, subcategory name, sales amount, category percentage, and total. And here we have this group headers where we can add the bikes, accessories as a kind of group headers. And the subcategory, what we have it here, it contains the detail section. So let's now quickly look into the demo. I'll just open up this blank report. Let me open up one more report. Okay, so this is the Power BI Paginated Report where you can download and install. And this is a free itself, it's not a paid version. Recently, Microsoft has also given an option that even the pro users of Power BI can make use of this Power BI Paginated Report, and then they can share the report with other people. Initially, when they launched this feature, it was like only a premium per user or premium capacity, but now even the pro users can also make use of this beautiful thing. So basically, I have added here the data sources and data sets. And if I right click here, we have option about to add. I will just quickly walk through about how you can add the data source. So here in the Paginated report, we have an option about add a Power BI dataset connection or add a data source. So at the moment, I've just added here as a data source where we can add our Excel or ODBC or SQL connection whatever we have. So we can just click on add sources, and we have these multiple connectors. From this, we can use here, and we can pass our connection string, and we can connect to our source. And similarly, if you want to add a multiple data set here, you can click on add data set, and then you can give it a name. And from the data source, you can pick up the data source here. You can add multiple data sources. You can add multiple tables here, and you can even add your query string, the SQL string you can add up here, or you can add your stored procedure as well. And then what we have, so we can add multiple tables here. So even though this says as data sets, but it actually was a table which is coming from our source, so you can add multiple tables here. So it's a similar approach what we have it in Power BI. I'm just comparing this Power BI and Paginated report just for you to clearly understand. In Power BI, we can create relationship between the tables, but here we don't have such kind of approach. So we can add multiple tables here, and then we can make use of these tables. So first of all, let's go to data, and we have these options to add, and insert, we have this table. So if you click on this small dot icon, we have this table wizard and insert table. I will just start with simple with insert table itself. Click on here, and then you just need to drag and drop. And it has given an option about headers and the data. So if you click on this one, if you mouse over here on any cell, you will get a small icon here. If you just click here, then it will give you the list of available tables, data sets, whatever you have. And then you need to pick up one data set. So here, for example, I'm just taking this English product category name and just realign this a bit. Okay, and then just drag realign. So again, if I click on this area, and now it is not asking me for the same process. I don't need to select the data set and table again. The reason is we can add only one table columns inside to one visual. So you can create another visual and you can add the data from other table, but on this particular table, we can't add up here as a UI interface. So if I click on here as an example subcategory we have, I'll just add up here as kind of sales amount. So they have not given a search option here. That's not a good one, but let's see. If you have a multiple columns, then it will be a little bit difficult, or else it can be easy one. Okay, so here we added this the two columns, and I can right click here and delete this column. And also I can double click here. I can rename the column names. This is not going to impact any of the table. So I will just put it here as a category name, and this can be remains as sales amount. And I will just quickly little bit format this one. Just realign. We can drag and drop. I will just select these two cells by clicking on the row headers, and then we can just change the font here. If you want, on the top we have this. So I will select this one, and I will keep it to be 9, and then just realign this. The sales amount, I want to keep it at the right side, so it will be right side. And also we can just customize the number format. So as this is the sales amount, so I want it to be rounded number. So we have this decreasing the decimals. So now this is disabled here because there is no more decimals available now. So if you want to highlight something else here, you can click here and then quickly format these options. And also we have the border options. You can select here and add the borders. Okay, so we have now quickly formatted this one. Let me just bold the heading. Yeah, that's it. So let's save this and quickly run on this one. So I will just go to step by step for you because the main agenda of this session. The reason is I want you to be clearly understand about how these things works. Sometimes this goes fast, sometimes it not because of my system performance or maybe team sharing. Okay, so now it has a lot of load all the information here. Now you see the bikes is actually showing the values, but it is keep on repeating those things. The reason for this is table is a kind of fixed column approach and it doesn't have inbuilt grouping functionality. So if you see, I'm selecting this table here, and if you look at into the bottom of this report, we have these row groups and column groups. But here we have just the detailed information. It means it's just showing us the detail, whatever we have it on the table, on the database, it's showing up everything here. So we need to add a groups on top of this. Either we can make use of matrix visual to do that, or we can just convert the regular table and build on top of that however we need. So you can click here as a small dot icon, and then we have option about add groups, parent group, child group, adjacent, before or after. So the parent is basically the detailed row on top of that I want to add here. So right now the child group will not work because we don't have any groups at the moment. So we need to click on parent group. The adjacent, before or after, I will come back in a few minutes. So this is a parent group. If I click on this one, then it is asking me about group by to which column. So here I can select here English product category name. And he's asking me for about add a group header or footer. If you want to add a kind of subtotal, you can add. If you don't, you can just remove over there. So for now, I'm just keeping it simple. So click on OK. And it has added a new column onto the left side of this one. And also you can see there is a small kind of dotted lines here. It means it says that this is a group column and this is a kind of detail column. So now I don't need this regular detail column. So I will delete this one because if I keep this one, then also it's going to show me the same numbers. So delete this column and here English product category name. I just keep this to be category name. Let's zoom a bit. And now I will show you one thing. But first of all, I just want you to run this one. Okay. Uh, And now you see we have this category which is shows as match and it says that it is a group by function, but still we are getting the same result. Why? The reason is because if I just go back here and then click here, so each and every cell, whatever we have it here, so let's add a blank table again. So if I click on this one and go to this property on the right side, so we have a beautiful property pane and where we can customize many things, a lot of options, customize option here. And every cell is actually a text box. So you see here it is text box 14. And if I click on the other one, it's text box 16 and it is text box 18. So how it has named automatically so that we don't have any control. But if you want to rename those things, then we have the option about that. And I think there is a column about the name. Yeah, here you go. So we have a column about name, then we can change the text of this one. But if you don't want, then you can just keep it as it is. So every text box has a name, and if I just right click here, then we have a text box property and expression. So just click on expression now, and you see it is actually taking the fields, which is basically referring to the column name. And this is, I mean, highlighting it to be a columns, and this is actually sales amount is the column name, and dot value is taking the value of that particular column. Because if we have a parameter, then it will be as param, which is a short abbreviation of the parameter. As we are just using the columns from the table, so it refers to as fields here. So sales fields amount value. So it is just giving us the sales of this one, but there is no aggregate function here. No sum, max, average, nothing is here. So we need to add a sum in front of this one and then close the bracket. As simple as that. So this is why we need to do this approach. Is basically we are converting this table into a group by functionality, right? So that's the reason we need to do this kind of work. But whereas if you do the similar thing in a matrix visual, then it will be really simple. I will show you in a minute. The reason for that is matrix actually pivot and groups everything all together. That's a default behavior of the matrix. But whereas the table, it just gives us the plain information as it is. Okay, so now it is still showing up this thing. Why? The reason is, I will show you again. So the reason for this one is, if I right click here, and now you see we are on the detail row. So we are not in the grouping summary. So if you right click here and then click on add totals. And now if I click here, and you see there's an arrow mark here, the brackets here, which actually shows that this is a border, this is the limitation of this category. And if I right click here again and then click on add total, and now we don't see this bracket here. So basically the three dot line, the three line which is showing up here, it's a detail section reference, and the bracket which shows up here and the yellow highlight which comes up here, it actually refers to the group of that particular column, which is the category name here. And the gray is basically showing up the detail section of this table. And the total which is outside of this table, I mean the end of this table. So that's why there is no brackets here, and it's the final total value of this one. And now we have this information, and you see it has generated automatically the sum of value, sum of value, sum of value. So if we keep this detail section as it is, then we're still going to get the same result. So to avoid that, we can just click on this three dot line row, and then we just go to the end of this one. Here we have option about row visibility. So here it is hidden equal to false, and now we need to change it to true. Okay, so if we change it to true, and then if I save this and run application now, so this will hide the detail section of this one, and it's just going to add the summary of the group and then the grand total of that. I think I have hidden everything. Okay, let's click here, just change this to B. If you notice one thing, whatever the default options which we have it here, it's actually in regular font. And if you change something else, then it's changing it into bold one. So that's the highlighting of this one. So we can understand that. So these are the changes which we have made during our development time. So this is one. So it has to hide actually. So let me click here, group properties, and the visibility we have it here, and we can hide this detail section here. So we also have an option here. Click
From the
here and
grouping, yeah. That's the
yeah, on this part. Okay.
that's the
So,
old way of SSRS.
yeah. Okay. So if I run this one, it's taking. Okay, so now you see this output here, which is accessories, bikes, clothing, and the grouping of this one. So this is table visuals, how it actually works. And now let's quickly go through the matrix visual, and then we'll come back again for the demo. So in the table is we in the matrix we actually have three things. One is row, dynamic row groups, and then dynamic column headers, and then detailed sections, which is aggregation of this one. We can make use of sum, max, or min, something like that. And this area, it's actually we can add the manual text option. We can keep the headings of that particular table, we can say. And this is an example of this one. We can add multiple groups here, and we can add multiple row group, multiple column groups for this one. Okay, now let's quickly go back to this one. So I will make the same use case here, and I will do this in matrix visual. So clicking on this one, matrix, and then insert matrix. So if I just click here, and now I will add this local bank internet sales category name. And here, if I click here, and then I will add sales amount. So by default, if you notice here, the sum of sales amount has been added here. Whereas in the table, it just added the name of the column. If I right click now and then go to expression, it has added a sum of that fields sales amount dot value. So that's the changes advantage of the matrix. And we don't have option about to format the thing. So let me quickly name. And this can be same thing. Okay, so selecting here the borders, and also for this one, select here, this has to be this one, right align, and this has to be number, this one. Okay, so now let's visualize this one, both of them. All right, so we see both of them has the same value. So creating this kind of reports in the matrix visual actually gives us a simple flexibility when compared to develop in the table visuals. So I just, and if you want to add a total, you can just right click here and then add totals. So if it is asking me to add a total in the row or in the column. So I just add a row here. So we have it row now. And in the matrix visual, so let's hide this for now. So you can hide this, select this visual on top of this area, and it selects all the tables, and go to the bottom of this one. We have this hidden. I'm setting this to be true. So now this table visual is not going to render. Okay, so if I select this, I will just keep this matrix here. Okay, so now we have on this bottom, you see, we have just row groups as the English product category name, and column group is nothing is here. So we can add another multiple row groups here. I will just expand to this one and then add groups. And here we have a child group option. If I click on this one, it is asking me to add a child group, and I'm going to add English product subcategory name in this case and click on OK. So it actually adds the child group here. And let's view this report. Yeah, child group name. You see, this actually refers to this, the hierarchy structure is refers to the parent and child option. And also, I will quickly add the one more column onto the top, and the column group I will just add here, and this is now the parent group because we don't have any columns at the moment. So parent group I will just select here and add this to be sales territory group, for example, and then click on OK. And it has added a sales territory group. Is everything is similar. If you see the brackets here, it refers to the area where what it covers. Now let's run this report. So basically now the filter applies as a column as well as the row. In the row, it actually applies for the two things. One is the category and the subcategory. On the top, it actually applies for the sales territory group. Okay, so now we have this accessories and we have this subcategory, and on the top we have sales territory group. And these are the sales amount for this particular thing. So if you want to add a subtotal for this each and every subcategory and also for the column total, then we can make use of this. And if you right click here and it's asking about to add totals, and if you click on row, then it's actually adding up a separate, it's inserting a separate row between these things and give us the value here. So this is this one. And this is basically, if you want, right click here and then add totals. I can click on row. It's actually adding up the total here. So you see, if there is no difference between these two here, right? So it actually gives the value of, this is basically the grand total, I can say, and this is also the grand total. So we don't need two of them. We can delete either any of those. And here what we are getting up here is basically the category total, and the particular each and every cell is refers to subcategory total and the category total, and this is the grand total. So we can just rename this. This is basically subcategory. All right, so let's reduce this. I will increase this one. Okay, so now this is the category total and this is the grand total. And similarly, if you want to add further, then you can just right click here and then add totals to the columns. So it's going to add a total onto the column. And now for everything, if you right click on the expressions, it's going to be the same thing. Sum of sales amount value, and here also sum of sales amount value, and also on the group sales amount value. And also on the grand total, it's going to be the same thing. So based on the groupings and based on the filters, what it applies, it has applies those filters and then give us the results automatically. Not only you can just right click and then make use of this, you can also just copy and paste the formula from this and to this, because it's going to be the same thing, but it's going to render the result based on the filter which it applies. So right now we have added this subcategory total, and then we also added this column total. So if I run this report now, okay, beautiful. So now it says like the sales amount for this total Europe, it actually adding up for each and every column. So I don't need this actually. I just need a whole column total. So let's quickly go back here. You see this bracket which shows up here, it's actually showing up this to this area, which is basically sales territory group. So right click on this part and then go again to add totals um, to the column. And now we don't have brackets here. It means it is the column total. So I don't need this column. I can right click here and then delete for now. Okay. So sales territory group, and we have this grand total here as well. And we have option about to merge things. So you can select these two columns things. Similarly, we can merge the column names because it's also to be subcategory. All right, so we can just copy and paste the same thing from here to this location, and it's going to show us the result. So now we have this category total. So how about getting the name of the category itself instead of just saying the category total? How about saying this bike total, accessories total, or other total? So we can just need to right click on this particular thing and then select on expression, and we have this category total, right? So we can just make use of this here as click on this one and then select this English product category name, just an example. So if I right click here and then use this expression, and it's showing me the value about English product category name dot value. So now let's quickly run this one. Let's see how it looks like. Okay, so now we have this clear output here. So we have this Europe sales amount for this bike rack, and at the end we have this grand total. So bike racks total is 39,000, and for each and every region we have like 9,000 and 24,000, 6,000. And similarly, the accessories we have the total amount of this one, and for the bikes we have the total amount of this one, and for clothing we have this, and these are the grand totals. So this looks good. And the other thing which I'm talking about is like adding an adjacent group. So similarly, we can add the adjacent group here. I can go to this column group options. You click here, and we have the option about add groups, and then we have option about adjacent before or after. So here I'm just clicking on the before or after. So before or after is nothing but the column which is there, the sales territory group, if you want to add it before to that or after to that. So I'm clicking on after this one, and it's an error. Okay, so if I click again here and then add groups and adjacent after, okay, that may be glitch. Okay, so if I select here, for example, the gender, so whether it's a male or female kind of thing, so selecting the gender and then click on OK. So a new thing is added up here, and here it has added as a kind of not on this area actually. I just need it to be on the top location. So I'm deleting this for now. So it is deleted from here. Selecting this one, add groups, and then adjacent after. Okay. So select this one and then gender. Click on OK. And now you see this bracket which is showing up here on top, it's a different one. So it means the area which is showing up here is only covers to this particular thing, and this is a different thing. So let's quickly select these two and then just keep it simple. So we don't need this to be a sales amount. It's actually not able to mesh this one. The reason is because this is a kind of grouping, so we can't able to use this option. So let me delete this here and copy this gender here. Okay. I'll keep this top as a blank one. We'll see this later part. Okay, so here we have the gender, but we don't know what we need to add. We can add other things as well. If you want to add kind of quantity, we can make use of that. But here I will just copy and paste whatever we have it here, paste it here. Now run this one. So this basically gives us the information about this particular territory by region as well as the gender at the same column. Okay, so you see now we have these regions, and then we have these bike racks, which actually gives the information about up to this area. And this male and female is basically the whole amount. The whole amount is 39,000, and this 39 has been actually spread into these two columns, which is male and female, female and male. So 18,000 and 20,800 is refers to 39,000 for this bike rack. So this is the advantage of adding adjacent groups. So we can have a multiple things on beside to each and every category. Okay, so what else we have it now? We have this one, we have this one. Okay. So now let's look into this presentation again, and we'll have a look into this list. So creating data regions list. So use a list to produce free-form reports, possibly the conjunction with the data region, because we can add the matrix, we can add the tables inside to that, and then we can build our list inside to this report. So this is how it will look like. So we can add our text on top of this one, and then we can also add the detail section of the tables and the group by, and the footer, we can add the signature and terms and conditions. So now let's have a look into this demo as well. So I will hide this for now as well, the matrix visual. Okay, we'll keep this here. And insert, I will just click on the list. So if I click on list and just drag and drop and select on this one. So every, I mean, this table visual, what is seen here, it's a text box here. And if you click on the matrix, it's giving us a name, but ideally this is also a text box. You see here the text box which shows up here. So the table and matrix, both of them, each and every cell is refers to a text box. Whereas if you drag and drop the list here, even though this is list, rectangle, but inside to this, it's actually a rectangle. So I click on this one, it will show you this tablet 7, which is the three of them, which is a table, matrix, and the list. It's a Paginated Report refers to as tablets itself, but inside to this, we have it as a rectangle. So this is the advantage of this. We can add anywhere, wherever we want to add things here. So for now, just for the demo, I think this one is, so let me just note down this one because it has a lot of sales order number. That's why it will take a lot of time for me to load here. I will just cut short using this sales order number. So this is SO 75123. Okay. So here we have the row groups of these options and the column groups. Nothing is here. I will just select on this one and add a group and parent group. So here we can just select the sales order number. First of all, we need to add the columns here. So I'll just drag and drop things from here. Options, we have text box, for example. If I just drag and drop here, anywhere else, and then I can just click on this arrow and select this one, fact internet sales, and this should be sales order number. Yeah. So now this is a sales order number, and we can just place around wherever we can. Um, and also I will add one more text box here just to show me the manual key sales order number. And also we can resize, we can format anything we want to do. We can do this one. Okay, so if I click here, sorry, if I click here and then tables properties, and in the table properties, we have this option about general, and then we have the visibility, we have the sorting, and we have filters. If we click on filters, we can add the column names, and whatever we want to filter it, we can filter here. At the moment, I just want to filter this sales order number, and this to be equal to this one, what we have just copied, and click on OK. And if I run this one, and now let's see. This part is taking time. Okay, so it is giving me this result, and if I just click here, it's actually giving me 3 rows because this particular, if you look at in the demo, it has a 3 different rows, so that's why it's showing up 3 things 3 times. Okay, so we have this here, and similarly, as we have built up this table on top of this one, I will just add English category name, and then if I right click here on the table, I can add the columns. And here I would like to add, oh no, instead of this one, let's add a new one itself, new table. New table, insert a new table. I'll just add the tables outside of this one. Click here, select this one, fact internet sales, and then English product name. And this can be uh, order quantity, and this can be sales amount. So category, quantity, and sales amount. So here I need to add groups now. So if I click here and then add groups, parent group here. So here I need to add the groups, and this has to be the sales order number. Change the sales order number and click on OK. So it has added a new group, which is the sales order number. And inside to this one, want to add the portions. So this is a group, and right click here, and we have option about insert row, and which should be below to this one. So you see the bracket which is keep on following, which is it is adding the rows inside to this one itself. Right click again inside a row, and I'm adding a below here. So it's still following up here. The reason why I'm adding up these many rows is because I want to keep the headers as a separate one, and then the body, which is the table, and the footer as a separate one. So right now we have this header on top of this one, and then I will just drag and drop this table inside to this one. So if you drag and drop, it will just allocate all the space inside to this, whatever we have it here. And then if you see here, the new row which we have added here, it's actually referring to a text box. So that should not be the case. So this has to be a rectangle. So you can right click here, and then we can, first of all, you need to delete this one. Select this text box and then delete. And we can add insert here, and then we have option about rectangle. So and now it is added as a rectangle onto this one. Okay, now let's quickly run to this one and see the output of this. Let me check on this. Let's drag and drop again outside. Okay, let's quickly hide this for now. Uh, Filters. I'm adding a filter here, which is the sales order number just for testing purpose. Okay, and now let's run this one. Okay, so as I said, this has a three rows which is showing up here, and these are the three numbers which is showing up here. Okay, so this is fine. Let me just open up one more file, which is here. Okay, so I will just refer to this one. Okay, if you just see here, we have added a groups here, similarly what we have done here. Let me just, yeah. The loading itself is taking a bit time. While this is loading, let me just quickly check if there is any questions. Um, is it available on on-prem server? So we have a separate report builder. Power BI report builder is for the Power BI, and we have a separate report builder for on-prem server as well. And both of them has a similar functionality, but the only difference is for the on-prem, you can't connect to your um, Power BI dataset, but for this Paginated report, you can connect to your Power BI dataset. Okay, now you can see it here just as an example. I will just quickly walk through that. You see it is showing up a list visual where it contains on the top one sales order number on then one reference to this one. We can add other information as well. And in the second part, we have this detailed information about using a table visuals. And at the bottom, we have the free form text, which is we can add the terms and conditions and the invoice numbers as well. If I just go back here, so basically it also contains the similarly three things, which is three rows on this one. And this is the list visual where it contains a group by sales order number, how we have done the same way. And inside to this, I have added here the rectangle because then only we can freeform the text here. Or else if you just use the regular one, which is the text box, then it's going to occupy the whole space here itself. So because of this only, I just created this text box outside of this one, and then I just drag and drop to this one where we can occupy all the space from here. And similarly, on the third row, we added this rectangle as well. And this is the free form text, which is added using insert and the text box option here. So now let's have a look into this one, which is basically the sales order number, row group, and group properties. And here I've just added here onto this one group properties. There is no filters applied. And if I click here, sales order number, group properties. No filters. Okay. So this is the one. And then if I click on to this parameters and the filters. So there is no filters applied for this as well. And there is no filters applied for this. I think I applied it the filters on the data set level. So right click on the data set. We have a filter options at the table. We have filter options at the matrix and the list options as well. So we can also filter on the data set level. Right click here on the properties, and here we also have a filter option. If you want to use, we can make use of these options. So this is basically the sales order number. Okay, let's run this again. Just taking a bit time. Okay, let me quickly go back to the questions if I have any questions. Um, so that's one I have answered. Which expression language is Paginated Report using to write expressions? That's an interesting question. It's a right case said, Prince said like it's a Visual Basics and same as SSRS what we used to have. It's not a kind of complex language. We can use the simple what we usually use for the Visual Basic if conditions and all the logics. You mean if we can deploy Paginated Report to our on-prem Power BI? You mean if we can deploy Paginated to on-prem Power BI report server? Yes. So basically, like I said, Paginated report and SSRS report, both of them are the same thing. So you can develop for on-prem. The in report builder, Power BI report builder is for Power BI service, and this thing which is on-prem server is for on-prem SSRS report. So we can deploy the report onto our on-prem. And now recently, I studied about last week, I guess. So they have launched a new functionality that if you are using a SQL Server 2016 on 17 onwards, then we can have an option to migrate all our reports from on-prem to Power BI service. So I have not worked on that, but I just read an article from the Power BI.
Right. They've
So
also published a RDL migration tool, which could also do that automatically for you. So it's good to have that.
yeah, that's right. We didn't find even custom code works in a Power BI service if you can code that in XML of the RTL file.
So I just added that to answer. So
Correct.
that's
Exactly.
actually SSRS reports, like you recall, right? You mentioned a lot
Yeah.
about them. So there was a functionality you could write custom code in there. So it works if it is simple. You're not using external libraries as long as. So it would also work in the service. It's a limited functionality. I think it is turned off so that people do not start adding libraries to their paginated reports anymore. So because if they add libraries, they would not work in cloud, obviously. But as long as you are using the Visual Basic expressions and Visual Basic custom code, normal code, that would work there.
Okay. Thank you.
Let's
And
let me see if there's any questions
any
on. Yeah,
questions?
please go ahead. Please go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, no issues. Yeah. So I'm just looking into this one as this one. I just open up this report and this one. Yeah. Yeah, this is the report which you are working on. So this is, we have filtered this to be, oh, the filter is not available here. Let me add a filter on this one, which is sales order number. Okay, let me delete this for now, and I will hide this visual. So if you ask for a use case of this Paginated report, is basically I've seen a case like people are building a Power BI report to showcase it to their suppliers, showcase it to the customers. And if they want to download the invoice of this one, then they can just give the link of this into Power BI And when you click on that, it will open up this Paginated report, and then they can download the report from there. So that's one of the use case of this one. Yeah, I heard someone is talking. Is it right?
No, please go ahead. It was an accidental unmute.
Okay. Okay, I will just hide this here and drag it up to this one. And I will add this here as insert text box, and then just type as signature. Type plus 8, it is referring to this itself. I'm just missing a thing, but just missing one thing. That's it, hidden. Okay, now we have this sales order number onto this one. And if I click here, add a column inside to the group to the left side, it's adding up a column. Basically, it has to add. Somehow it's not working, but I will actually, with the interest of time, what I will do, I will just add a link of my YouTube video to this chat so that you can refer to this one, how you can make use of this list function to this one. And apart from this, we have other resources where you can also learn about more about this Power BI Paginated report. So what I have shown today is just a part of this. We can build many things out of this one, and really it's an interesting tool. And even though this is not much aware to most of the people, so that only I just had to cover these topics on this session. Any other questions? I mean,
No, I don't see any more in the chat, but this was an amazing session, Adnan. I mean, pretty much like a crash course or a zero to hero, I will call. You covered a lot, showed a lot. It was a working session, and really, it was kind of a refresher for me. And I'm pretty sure a lot of learning experience for all other audience that have joined here. So thank you so much for your time today. I know, taking time at weekend for the community. We really appreciate that and value that a lot. So thank you so much for this past 1 hour of learning, and best wishes, and have a great weekend. Thanks much for joining us today.
Yeah, thanks a lot for those who have joined this session, and thank you everyone, Abhinav and Dhruvin and all the other organizations for organizing this amazing event. Have a great weekend. Thank you.
Thanks, Adnan. All right. So with this, we have another session lined up. I'd like to welcome Rajendra, our co-host and
Yeah.
member of our Delhi Power BI user group, who will be taking on the baton from here from me and welcoming other speakers. So welcome, Rajendra, and thanks for
Hi,
joining.
Dhruv. Yeah,
Yeah.
hi,
So I think next speaker has joined. So
guys.
you can go up. So
Yeah,
I'll stop recording on the other channel, and then you can start recording once the next speaker is live.
sure.